Around 20,000 years ago, much of the northern hemisphere was buried beneath enormous sheets of ice. Temperatures were far colder than almost anywhere on Earth today. Forests disappeared, rivers froze, and entire landscapes looked completely different from the world we know now. Yet despite all of that, humans survived. They hunted, traveled across frozen plains, and raised families in one of the harshest climates our species has ever faced. Which raises an interesting question. If you suddenly found yourself living in that same frozen world, with no modern technology, no electricity, no supermarkets, and no medicine, how long would you survive? To answer that, we need to start with the problem that seems the least dangerous: the cold. At first, the cold doesn't feel like a real threat. You've been cold before, maybe during a winter morning, maybe during a storm. It's uncomfortable, but it doesn't seem deadly. That's the mistake. The Ice Age wasn't just cold. It was relentless. There was no heated house waiting nearby, no warm car, and no insulated jacket designed for sub-zero temperatures. Every minute you remained exposed, your body began losing heat. Your fingers stiffened first, then your toes, then your ears. To protect your vital organs, your body pulled warm blood away from your extremities and burned more energy trying to stay warm. And that's the part most people never think about. In extreme cold, your body burns calories even when you're standing still. Every shiver is your muscles desperately trying to generate heat. And heat requires energy. Energy comes from food. Food you don't have, which means from the very first hour, you're already spending resources you can't replace. The Ice Age didn't need to attack you. It simply made every hour a little harder than the one before. Eventually, one thought takes over everything else. You need fire. It sounds simple. Humans have been making fire for hundreds of thousands of years. But there's a difference between knowing fire exists and knowing how to create it. You start gathering branches and searching for anything dry enough to burn. The problem is that snow covers the ground, moisture clings to fallen wood, and your hands are already becoming numb. Then comes another unpleasant discovery. Movies have lied to you. Striking two random rocks together does not magically create fire. Real fire making requires the right materials, dry tinder, oxygen, and experience. Without those things, you can spend hours trying and achieve nothing. And while you're failing to make fire, the cold keeps working. Your fingers lose dexterity. Small tasks become frustratingly difficult. Picking up twigs, tying knots, and arranging wood all take longer than they should. The longer you stay cold, the less capable you become. Then you look up and notice the sun is already dropping toward the horizon. Without a watch, you can't tell the exact time. But you know one thing for certain. You're running out of daylight. Once darkness arrives, finding wood becomes harder, building shelter becomes harder, and moving through unfamiliar terrain becomes dangerous. In the modern world, night is an inconvenience. For most of human history, it was a deadline. You still don't have food, you still don't have a fire, and you still don't have a proper shelter. Suddenly, every decision feels wrong. Should you keep searching or stay where you are? Should you keep moving or save your strength? Survival isn't just about making good choices. It's about making good choices while cold, hungry, exhausted, and under pressure. The sun continues to sink, the air grows sharper, and for the first time, a frightening thought enters your mind. What if you don't make it through the night? A cave looks tempting. It blocks the wind and seems safer than sleeping in the open. But there's a problem. You have no idea what's already living inside. 20,000 years ago, caves were valuable shelter. Bears, wolves, and other predators knew that just as well as humans did. So instead of gambling on an unknown cave, you settle near a large rock formation that blocks most of the wind. You gather branches and grass to create a barrier between your body and the frozen ground. That detail matters more than most people realize. Cold air is dangerous, but frozen ground can steal heat from your body just as quickly. As darkness falls, the temperature drops even further. Without a fire, your body responds by shivering continuously. At first, it's manageable, then it becomes exhausting. Ironically, shivering is actually a good sign. It means your body is still fighting to stay warm. The real danger comes later, when it no longer has enough energy to keep fighting. Somewhere in the darkness, you hear a branch crack, then another. You can't tell how far away the sound is. In the cold night, distance becomes almost impossible to judge. Maybe it's hundreds of meters away. Maybe it isn't. You barely sleep. Every sound wakes you up. Every shadow looks suspicious. And by the time the first light appears, you feel more exhausted than rested. You survive the night. But surviving isn't the same as recovering. The next morning, the frozen landscape becomes visible again. As you walk across the plain, a dark shape appears in the distance. Then another, then several more. A small herd of woolly mammoths. For a moment, you forget everything else. These are some of the largest land animals humans ever encountered, and seeing them alive would be unforgettable. Then reality returns. Those mammoths represent food, fat, hides, and bones. Enough resources to support an entire group of people. But not one person. Hunting a mammoth was not something an individual simply decided to do. It required planning, specialized weapons, and cooperation. Standing there, you realize something important. The problem isn't finding food. The problem is being able to get it. The herd continues across the frozen plain and eventually disappears into the distance, taking your best opportunity with it. The cold never really left. After a sleepless night, exhaustion has settled in, and now hunger is becoming impossible to ignore. Your body has been burning calories almost non-stop, not just to walk, not just to think, but simply to stay warm. In freezing environments, surviving requires far more energy than most people imagine. Every step through the snow and every breath of icy air has been quietly draining your reserves. You start searching for anything edible. A few frozen berries, some roots beneath the snow, anything. But winter doesn't just make food scarce. It hides it. Even when you find something that looks edible, you have no way of knowing whether it's safe. One mistake could poison you, and out here there is no medicine, no hospital, and no second chance. So you keep walking, burning calories while searching for calories. It's a cruel cycle. The longer you search, the weaker you become. The weaker you become, the harder it is to keep searching. Hunger isn't just another problem. It makes every other problem worse. The cold feels colder, every step feels heavier, and even simple decisions become more difficult. Finding food isn't enough. You have to find it before searching becomes impossible. At this point, you might think the obvious solution is hunting. After all, that's how Ice Age humans survived. But hunting wasn't simply a matter of spotting an animal and throwing a spear. It required experience, planning, good weapons, and usually other people. A single person with no training and no proper tools doesn't suddenly become a successful hunter. Every failed chase wastes precious energy, and in an environment this cold, wasted energy can be fatal. That's what makes survival so unforgiving. Every failed attempt makes the next attempt harder. Eventually, you stop dreaming about mammoths and start hoping for something much smaller. A rabbit, a bird, anything that might provide a few calories. But nature doesn't reward effort. It rewards results, and your body is running out of time. By now, a more important question appears. If surviving the Ice Age was this difficult, how did humans ever manage it? The answer isn't that they were stronger than us. They still felt cold. They still felt hunger. They still died from injury and disease. The difference was that they rarely faced those problems alone. Humans survived because they cooperated. Knowledge was shared, food was shared, fire was shared. Children were protected by groups, not individuals. An experienced hunter could teach younger members where animals traveled. Someone else could maintain the fire while others searched for food. Survival wasn't an individual achievement. It was a collective one. And in this simulation, you've had none of it. No tribe, no family, no experienced guide, no one to keep the fire alive while you sleep. From the beginning, the odds were never really in your favor. When people imagine the Ice Age, they usually picture mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and giant predators. But those weren't necessarily the greatest danger. The real threat was the environment itself. The cold drained your energy. Hunger weakened your body. Exhaustion clouded your judgment. And every day made the next day more difficult. The truth is, humans did survive the Ice Age. But they survived because they worked together, shared knowledge, and adapted over thousands of years. A modern person dropped into that world alone would be facing a challenge our ancestors rarely faced by themselves. So if you suddenly found yourself living 20,000 years ago, what do you think would get you first? The cold, hunger, exhaustion, or simply being alone? Because in the end, surviving the Ice Age was never about defeating nature. It was about learning that no one ever defeated it alone.